Welcome to Conspiracy Files with Zoe Parker. I'm your host, Zoe Parker, and in today's episode, we are taking a closer look at the Denver International Airport. Strange artwork, mysterious underground tunnels, and bizarre symbols scattered across the property have raised questions for decades. What secrets could be hidden beneath the runways of one of America's largest airports? Stay with me as we begin to uncover the unsettling truth. Construction of the Denver International Airport began in the early 1990s, amid controversy and confusion. Located over 20 miles from downtown Denver, the new facility was designed to replace the existing Stapleton Airport, which many believed was still fully functional at the time. Critics questioned why a brand new airport was necessary, especially when the cost was estimated to exceed $4 billion. When the airport finally opened in February of 1995, it was more than 16 months behind schedule and nearly $2 billion over budget. For some, these delays and overruns were simply a sign of mismanagement. For others, they hinted at something deeper, something hidden. From the beginning, the Denver International Airport seemed to carry an unusual aura. The sheer size of the complex raised eyebrows. Covering more than 33,000 acres, it remains the second largest airport in the world by land area. And while much of that land is undeveloped, speculation quickly spread that the extra space may have been reserved for something beyond aviation. The first wave of suspicion came during the early stages of construction. Multiple contractors were hired to work on different sections of the underground facilities, often with little knowledge of what others were doing. Some workers later claimed that vast subterranean levels were built, sealed off, and never used for airport operations. Rumors spread that these underground chambers were part of a secret military installation or an emergency government command center, ready to be activated during national crises. Adding to the intrigue were the airport's unusual design elements. The main terminal's peaked roof, resembling a series of white tents, was said to mimic the snow-capped Rocky Mountains. But others saw something different, the silhouette of a Nazi-era concentration camp, or perhaps a series of pyramids with occult meaning. Even the runways, when viewed from above, appeared to form the shape of a swastika. Airport officials dismissed this as coincidence, pointing out the runways were spaced for optimal wind direction and safety. Still, the pattern fueled public fascination. The dedication plaque at the airport's Great Hall only deepened the mystery. It prominently features the symbol of the Freemasons and mentions a group known as the New World Airport Commission. Strangely, no such commission is known to exist outside of this context. The presence of Masonic iconography and reference to a shadowy organization has led some researchers to suggest that the airport is more than a transportation hub. It is a symbolic and perhaps functional cornerstone of a hidden agenda. While none of these elements confirm a conspiracy on their own, taken together they laid the groundwork for decades of speculation. From its overbuilt structure to its cryptic symbols, Denver International Airport became a magnet for alternative theories. The stage was set for a modern myth to take flight, one grounded in secrecy, power, and the unknown. Much of the intrigue surrounding the Denver International Airport centers on the individuals and organizations linked to its creation. Among the most discussed is the presence of Freemasonry, a secretive society with a long history of influence and symbolism. Embedded in the dedication marker within the airport's main terminal is the square and compass, the classic emblem of Freemasonry. This symbol sits prominently above the words New World Airport Commission, a name that has puzzled researchers and fueled speculation since the airport's opening. Attempts to trace the origins of this commission lead nowhere, suggesting that it was either a ceremonial name or a reference to something more cryptic. The plaque itself is dated March 19, 1994, and credits two Grand Lodges of Freemasonry in Colorado. While Freemasons are known for their charitable work and historic presence in civic institutions, conspiracy theorists argue that their inclusion in such a highly symbolic piece of infrastructure may suggest deeper involvement. Some believe this represents a literal marker of the airport's connection to a global elite, working behind the scenes to prepare for a new world order. The airport's first public figures also attracted attention. Federico Peña, who served as mayor of Denver during the initial planning stages and later as Secretary of Transportation, played a key role in pushing for the project. His political ascent and ties to national infrastructure gave him influence over the project's trajectory. While there is no direct evidence linking Peña to any conspiracy, his name appears frequently in documents and discussions about the early phases of the airport. Similarly, Wellington Webb, who served as mayor during the construction and ribbon cutting, stood behind the airport's expansive design and unusual elements, defending its need despite public concern. One of the most striking and controversial features of the airport is its artwork, which has been widely interpreted as symbolic, prophetic, or even disturbing. Murals by artist Leo Tanguma line the walls of the baggage claim area. These massive paintings depict vivid and unsettling scenes: children in coffins, soldiers in gas masks, and cities in ruins. One panel shows a militaristic figure with a sword and rifle standing over a destroyed landscape. Another features children from around the world gathered around a glowing plant, seemingly in hope and harmony. According to the artist, the murals tell a story of humanity moving from destruction into peace. However, critics argue that the images resemble warnings, predictions, or coded messages about global control, war, and population collapse. Additional sculptures and installations only added fuel to the fire. The most infamous is a giant rearing blue horse with glowing red eyes, located at the airport's entrance. Known unofficially as Blucifer, the statue gained notoriety after a piece of it fell during construction and fatally injured its creator, Luis Jimenez. The eerie aura surrounding the horse, combined with its demonic appearance, has made it a symbol of the airport's alleged dark purpose. Each of these individuals, artworks, and institutions may have a conventional explanation, yet their combination in a single location, one marked by secrecy, scale, and strangeness, continues to raise questions. Whether by design or coincidence, the Denver International Airport has become more than a travel hub. It is a living monument to mystery. Supporters of the conspiracy theory surrounding the Denver International Airport often point to a series of unusual and unexplained elements that they believe form a pattern too deliberate to ignore. These features, scattered across the airport's architecture and design, are seen by many not as random choices, but as intentional messages meant for those who know how to interpret them. One of the most often cited pieces of evidence is the network of underground tunnels that reportedly extend far beneath the airport's surface. While airport officials confirm that there are tunnels used for baggage transport and infrastructure, former workers and whistleblowers have claimed that the scale of these underground systems is far greater than what has been publicly acknowledged. Some insiders have described multiple levels of subterranean construction that serve no current operational purpose. According to these accounts, certain floors were completed, then sealed off and abandoned without explanation. Others claim that they were asked to build sections of the structure without ever being told how they would be used or who would access them. These accounts, though unverified, suggest the existence of a massive underground complex whose function remains hidden. Another frequently cited piece of evidence is the design of the airport's runways. From ground level, the layout appears standard and practical, but viewed from above, the runways form a pattern that some say resembles a swastika, a symbol with heavy historical and ideological weight. Airport officials have stated that the configuration allows for simultaneous takeoffs and landings in various weather conditions, a practical design rooted in efficiency. Still, skeptics argue that the resemblance is too exact to be accidental, and question whether the design serves a symbolic purpose. In addition to the murals and sculptures already mentioned, other symbols scattered throughout the airport have drawn attention. Strange markings on the floor, cryptic inscriptions in stone, and even gargoyle-like statues watching over luggage carousels have been cataloged and analyzed by conspiracy theorists. One stone slab near the Great Hall features coordinates that some say point to a location with military significance, while others suggest they correspond to known occult reference points. Even the airport's logo has been scrutinized. Its triangular design, pointing upward like a pyramid, has been interpreted by some as a nod to ancient symbolism associated with control and enlightenment. The fact that the tip of the pyramid is often separated or glowing in depictions is seen as a reference to the so-called all-seeing eye, a motif commonly linked with secret societies and surveillance. Finally, perhaps the most persistent claim among theorists is that the airport is designed to function as a command center or safe haven for global elites during an apocalyptic event. The theory suggests that in times of crisis, whether war, plague, or economic collapse, the airport's underground structures could be used as bunkers. This claim is often tied to broader ideas about continuity of government, elite escape plans, and the construction of vast, secretive shelter networks beneath American soil. While there is little concrete proof that any of these claims are true, the consistency with which they are repeated and the volume of supporting anecdotes have kept interest in the Denver International Airport alive. The evidence, though circumstantial, continues to accumulate, not in clarity, but in curiosity. To better understand the claims surrounding the Denver International Airport, it is essential to look closely at the most frequently cited pieces of evidence and examine how they have been interpreted over time. One of the most discussed elements remains the series of murals painted by artist Leo Tanguma. Officially, these artworks are meant to portray a message of peace overcoming violence, yet their imagery tells a more complex and unsettling story. In one mural, a gas-masked soldier marches with a rifle and a sword, cutting through a city in ruins. Children lie sleeping beneath him, and mothers hold their lifeless infants. This image, seen through a conspiratorial lens, is interpreted as a depiction of martial law, population control, and post-catastrophe global rule. Another section of the mural appears to depict survivors coming together beneath a rainbow, with doves and national flags symbolizing peace. While the artist intended this to show hope after tragedy, some theorists suggest it reflects the kind of utopia envisioned by globalist ideologies, one born only after engineered destruction. The transition from chaos to control is a theme many believe is not just symbolic, but predictive. Outside of the murals, the blue horse sculpture at the airport's entrance has remained a lightning rod for suspicion. Standing over 30 feet tall with glowing red eyes, it is often described as demonic or apocalyptic in appearance. The statue gained infamy after a piece of it fell during construction, fatally wounding the artist, Luis Jimenez. For many, this tragic event solidified the horse's symbolic darkness. Some have linked it to the biblical four horsemen of the apocalypse, claiming it represents death or conquest. Beyond the artwork, physical anomalies have also been cited as evidence. In various parts of the airport, unusual floor markings and tiles appear to reference unknown languages or alchemical symbols. One plaque, located near a time capsule sealed beneath the Great Hall, includes strange inscriptions and a reference to the year 2094, the date when the capsule is scheduled to be opened. The presence of Masonic emblems and cryptic phrases fuels the belief that this date holds some esoteric or prophetic significance. Other inconsistencies continue to raise questions. The scale of the airport itself seems disproportionate to the needs of the city it serves. Denver, while a major city, did not require the second largest airport landmass in the world at the time of construction. When questioned about the scope, airport officials pointed to future expansion and cargo logistics. However, many note that decades later, large sections of land remain undeveloped and inaccessible to the public. There are also reports of restricted zones and off-limits tunnels that are not documented in public schematics. A few former employees have anonymously stated that parts of the airport remain guarded at all times, despite having no known public function. Others claim to have witnessed high-security activity unrelated passenger operations, such as the transport of unidentified containers or armed escorts moving through private corridors. Taken individually, these features might be dismissed as artistic choices or functional design. But together, they form a web of unexplained decisions, eerie coincidences, and mysterious symbols. Whether these are intentional clues left in plain sight or simply the fuel of collective imagination, the evidence presented continues to spark analysis and debate. The Denver International Airport, for many, is no longer just an airport. It is a modern enigma waiting to be solved. While believers point to a dense network of symbols, artwork, and hidden infrastructure, skeptics argue that the theories surrounding the Denver International Airport are the result of misinterpretation, confirmation bias, and the natural appeal of mystery. From their perspective, nearly every claim made about the airport can be explained through conventional means, without invoking secret societies, shadow governments, or underground bunkers. The idea that the runways are arranged in the shape of a swastika, for example, has been repeatedly addressed by airport authorities and aviation engineers. They explain that the runways are laid out to allow multiple planes to land and take off simultaneously in different weather conditions, and that any perceived resemblance to a symbol is simply a matter of perspective from above. The artwork that many find disturbing is, according to critics, a misunderstood attempt at social commentary. Leo Tanguma, the artist behind the murals, has publicly spoken about his work as a narrative of peace overcoming violence. He has explained that the first mural panel represents the horrors of war and environmental destruction, while the second shows a future where nations come together in harmony. From this perspective, the art is not predictive or sinister, but rather a hopeful vision for humanity. Those who reject the conspiracy theory argue that the shock value of the images has simply made them a target for projection and paranoia. The underground tunnels, often described as secret government facilities, also have a documented history. They were constructed as part of an automated baggage system that ultimately failed. This costly system was abandoned after a series of malfunctions, but the tunnels remain. Former employees have confirmed that many of these spaces are unused today, but they were not designed for anything more nefarious than handling luggage. In addition, the airport has made some of these spaces accessible on guided tours, which has been used to counter the claim that they are part of a covert complex. As for the dedication plaque and its Masonic imagery, Freemasonry has a long and public history of involvement in civic projects. Many public buildings across the United States contain similar markers, often with ceremonial language and dates. The mention of the New World Airport Commission is explained by airport officials as a name chosen for the dedication ceremony, referencing the idea of Denver as a new global transportation hub. Despite public confusion, there is no official record of the group existing beyond this ceremonial role. Skeptics also emphasize that conspiracy theories often gain traction when people attempt to make sense of complex or expensive government projects. The airport's enormous cost overruns and lengthy delays created a vacuum of trust and understanding, which allowed alternative narratives to flourish. Rather than viewing the airport's features as sinister, critics see them as reflections of flawed management, bureaucratic overreach, and ambitious architecture. They argue that the mythos of the Denver International Airport has grown largely due to the internet. Viral videos, blog posts, and forum discussions have amplified fringe interpretations, often without rigorous fact-checking or contextual nuance. According to this view, the airport has become a cultural canvas onto which fears about control, surveillance, and global instability are projected. What began as an airport with unusual art and costly logistics has become, for some, a stage for modern folklore. Still, skeptics acknowledge that the persistence of these theories reveals something deeper, a societal distrust of institutions and a longing for hidden truths. Even when explanations are offered, the mystery remains appealing. To many, it is not about whether the theories are true, but what they reveal about the human need to question what lies beneath the surface. The enduring fascination with the Denver International Airport reflects more than curiosity about its architecture or art. It reveals a deeper cultural unease about the forces that shape our world. At its core, the conspiracy invites people to confront uncomfortable questions about authority, secrecy, and control. Whether or not the theories are grounded in fact, they tap into widespread suspicions that powerful individuals or institutions may operate beyond the public eye, using symbols, structures, and events to advance agendas not disclosed to the general population. The broader implications of the Denver airport narrative stretch beyond Colorado. The idea that a civilian transportation hub could double as a secret command center speaks to fears about surveillance, militarization, and the erosion of democratic oversight. For some, the airport represents a physical manifestation of the concept of the deep state, the belief that unelected officials and covert networks hold real power, shaping events from behind the curtain while elected leaders serve as figureheads. This perspective resonates strongly in times of political uncertainty or rapid technological change. In the decades since the airport opened in the mid-1990s, the world has undergone profound transformation. The rise of mass digital surveillance, global economic restructuring, and a steady stream of classified programs brought to light by whistleblowers have contributed to a climate of mistrust. Against this backdrop, places like Denver International Airport become symbolic battlegrounds for competing narratives, some grounded in evidence, others in interpretation. At the same time, the fascination with secret tunnels and coded murals reflects the human desire to find meaning in complexity. In a world overwhelmed by data and noise, the idea that something is hidden, waiting to be discovered, offers a strange form of comfort. It implies that there is a pattern, a logic behind chaos, even if that logic is concealed. Psychologists have long noted that conspiracy theories often flourish in periods of social anxiety and institutional failure. When people feel powerless or excluded from decision-making, they may seek explanations that give them a sense of control or understanding. The Denver airport, with its massive scale, cryptic design choices, and government involvement, provides a perfect canvas for these concerns to be projected and explored. Moreover, the mythos of the airport has become self-reinforcing. As more people investigate, document, and share their interpretations, the conspiracy gains momentum. Theories evolve, absorbing new elements and adapting to current events. This has created an ecosystem in which speculation is not only tolerated, but encouraged. In some cases, the airport itself has leaned into the narrative. Officials have hosted art exhibitions and released tongue-in-cheek promotional materials referencing the conspiracies, blending transparency with marketing in a way that both acknowledges and perpetuates the mystery. But this blending of fact and fiction complicates public understanding. When a site embraces its status as a cultural curiosity, it becomes harder to separate legitimate questions from theatrical narrative. The result is a space where entertainment, distrust, and symbolic interpretation collide, a mirror reflecting the larger questions facing society. Ultimately, the theories surrounding the Denver International Airport are not just about one location. They reflect a collective yearning to understand who holds power, how it is exercised, and why so much of modern life seems shaped by forces just out of view. Whether true, exaggerated, or imagined, these questions remain. And the airport, with all its strange elements and unanswered puzzles, continues to embody them. The Denver International Airport conspiracy has not remained confined to the realm of internet forums and fringe documentaries. Over the years, it has seeped into mainstream culture, influencing media coverage, public perception, and even airport operations. News outlets, travel blogs, and television shows have all explored the rumors, often treating them as curiosities rather than subjects of serious investigation. This mixture of attention, part satire, part sincere interest, has created a strange dynamic where the airport itself has become both the subject and the stage of the conspiracy it is accused of hiding. By the mid-2010s, the airport began to acknowledge the theories more openly. Marketing campaigns appeared across the property featuring posters with headlines like, "Are we hiding something? And what's happening behind this wall?" accompanied by images of aliens, lizard people, and underground bunkers. These tongue-in-cheek displays served a dual purpose. They entertained curious travelers while reinforcing the airport's awareness of its own mythos. For some, this was seen as clever branding. For others, it was viewed as a deflection, a way to mock the public's suspicions without addressing them directly. This self-aware strategy only added layers to the narrative. When an institution appears to joke about its alleged secrets, it walks a fine line between transparency and provocation. Conspiracy theorists argue that by acknowledging the theories, even in jest, the airport is engaging in a form of revelation through symbolism, revealing the truth indirectly, masked by humor. Supporters of this view often point to similar techniques used in Hollywood films, music videos, and corporate logos, where hidden messages are believed to be embedded in plain sight. The media, too, plays a complex role in shaping public understanding of the airport. While most major outlets cover the story with skepticism, their coverage still contributes to the airport's notoriety. Documentaries, travel features, and news reports frequently mention the murals, the tunnels, and the horse statue, ensuring that even casual viewers are exposed to the narrative. Social media amplifies this exposure further. Thousands of photos, personal stories, and video breakdowns circulate daily, often blurring the line between entertainment and investigation. The rise of platforms like YouTube and TikTok has only accelerated this phenomenon. Content creators dissect every corner of the airport, theorizing about the shape of the roof, the location of security cameras, and the design of the fencing. Some creators visit the airport specifically to film their own analysis, turning ordinary layovers into conspiracy fieldwork. These videos often go viral, introducing new viewers to the story and keeping the theory alive in digital spaces where skepticism is rare and imagination thrives. The airport's legacy is no longer limited to transportation. It now functions as a cultural landmark, a site where myth and reality blend so seamlessly that separating the two becomes nearly impossible. Whether the theories are grounded in fact or fantasy, their persistence speaks to the power of narrative. In an age of surveillance, secrecy, and institutional distrust, a place like the Denver International Airport becomes more than just an airport. It becomes a symbol, one that invites endless interpretation, reflection, and speculation. As the conspiracy surrounding the Denver International Airport has evolved, it has attracted a wide array of speculative and fringe interpretations that stretch far beyond its physical boundaries. These theories, while often dismissed by mainstream media, reflect deeper patterns of belief among those who feel disconnected from official narratives. One of the most widely circulated fringe claims suggests that the airport serves as a gateway, not just for travelers, but for entities or forces not bound by our physical world. Some researchers propose that the airport sits atop powerful energy lines, also known as ley lines, which are believed to connect sacred or energetic sites across the globe. In this view, the Denver International Airport is not merely a hub of human transit, but a focal point for spiritual or interdimensional activity. Supporters of this theory often reference the airport's precise geographical coordinates, claiming they correspond to occult numerology or ancient Earth grid patterns. They argue that these alignments are not accidental, but chosen for their ability to harness or manipulate unseen forces. Others speculate that the underground facilities, whose existence remains a matter of contention, are not just bunkers for government continuity, but part of a larger system of deep underground military bases connected by high-speed transit tunnels. These alleged tunnels are said to stretch from Denver to other key locations across the United States, including Cheyenne Mountain, Area 51, and Washington, D.C. While there is no verified map or official documentation confirming this network, its repeated mention across whistleblower accounts and alternative media keeps the idea alive. Even more fringe are the claims involving non-human intelligence. A segment of the conspiracy community believes the Denver International Airport is a site of contact, cooperation, or conflict with extraterrestrial beings. This theory suggests that beneath the airport's surface are facilities used for joint operations between human agencies and alien species. These claims often cite anonymous testimonies, leaked documents, and the presence of advanced technology in restricted areas. While these ideas lack verifiable proof, they echo older myths about government alliances with non-terrestrial forces, a theme deeply embedded in conspiracy lore since the mid-20th century. Symbolism plays a central role in supporting these speculative claims. The airport's recurring use of pyramidal shapes, eyes, and geometric structures is interpreted by some as evidence of ritual architecture designed to communicate with or influence other realms. Murals are re-examined through the lens of predictive programming, a theory that suggests media and art are used to prepare the public for future events. According to this belief, the disturbing imagery in the airport's artwork is not random or metaphorical, but a form of coded messaging about what is to come. These fringe interpretations are often met with ridicule or dismissal, yet their continued presence speaks to something larger, a persistent belief that what we see on the surface is only a fraction of the truth. For those who embrace these theories, the Denver International Airport becomes a kind of Rosetta Stone, filled with symbols, structures, and alignments that reveal glimpses of hidden knowledge. Whether viewed as a staging ground for shadow governments, a spiritual gateway, or a contact zone for extraterrestrial life, the airport remains a fertile ground for speculation, an open-ended mystery that invites more questions than answers. The story of the Denver International Airport is not defined by answers, but by layers of questions that refuse to fade. Decades after its opening in the winter of 1995, it continues to stand as a monument to ambiguity, a sprawling modern facility draped in art, symbolism, secrecy, and suspicion. From the moment construction began, the airport drew attention for its staggering cost, unusual delays, and unexplained design choices. Over time, that attention evolved into something more enduring, a sprawling network of theories, interpretations, and beliefs. Whether one sees the airport as a case of bureaucratic excess, a deliberate monument built by secret societies, or a hub of multidimensional activity, its power lies in the space it occupies between certainty and speculation. What fuels its legend is not just the presence of eerie murals or sealed-off tunnels, but the psychological tension between what we are told and what we sense. It is this dissonance, this feeling that something does not add up, that allows a story to persist across generations and platforms. For some, the mystery offers an opportunity to challenge official narratives and to question the deeper motives behind public infrastructure. For others, it becomes a kind of symbolic puzzle, drawing connections across time, geography, and myth. The airport's associations with Freemasonry, alleged elite planning, and the iconography of death and rebirth speak to a broader set of concerns: fears of global control, spiritual warfare, and concealed knowledge. In this sense, the Denver International Airport becomes more than just a subject of curiosity. It becomes a cultural artifact, shaped by the very anxiety, suspicion, and imagination of the society around it. Over the years, the airport has adapted to its myth. It has welcomed the conspiracy in public-facing ways, incorporating references to it in advertisements, displays, and merchandise. This willingness to play along only deepens the ambiguity. Is this humor masking deeper truths, or simply a clever marketing strategy designed to disarm suspicion? The answer depends on who is asking and what they are willing to believe. In the end, the Denver International Airport stands not just as a place where planes take off and land, but as a reflection of our collective need to make sense of the unknown. It reminds us that in an age of overwhelming information and diminishing trust, mysteries do not need to be solved to be powerful. Sometimes, their true influence lies in the way they shape questions about power, secrecy, and the structures built around us. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Conspiracy Files with Zoe Parker. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show and unlock bonus content, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.